Hello, everyone. Okay, so it's amazing to see all of you here. Start of a brand new year, start of our first live sermon series. So it's really, really exciting, and I know this year is going to be absolutely awesome. And you know what? I just want to give you some really good insider news. Kyle and Taryn, Kyle serves on staff here, has just found out that he's going to be a dad in 6 months' time. Yeah. So I know this year is starting well. Okay, so for those of you who don't know me, and I don't blame you, most of the time I'm in the next room over, so I'm hardly ever on stage. But my name is Sean, and I am married to Colette, who's sitting right at the front here. She normally serves in transit. I have two beautiful little girls, Ella Jane, who's almost 14, and Emily, who's 9. And Colette and I started attending Southpoint in 2010. And literally a couple of weeks into being here, my wife, without my knowledge, signed me up as a volunteer in Upstreet, and I have been serving there for the last 14 years. So if you want to be a volunteer, you know, husbands, wives, sign your partner up, they won't mind. Yeah, so, you know, I serve on the finance team, I head up kids stuff, and in 2015 I was honored and privileged to become an elder in the church. So that's a little bit about me. It's 2025, it's the start of a brand new year, start of New Year's resolutions, all those kind of things. And, you know, when I looked at my resolutions, the things that I wanted to do, I generally make resolutions of things that I want to change. You know, I'll have statements like, this is the year of the six-pack. Well, you laugh, I know some of my keg brothers out there are identifying. You know, but yeah, this is the year of the six-pack. And, you know, I'd start off really, really well. You know, I'd be doing the exercise, eating plan, all those kind of things. But then, after a while, I'd start slipping back into old habits. I'd start doing routines that I had vowed to change. Now, why did I fail? I failed maybe because I hadn't bought into those resolutions. I failed because I probably didn't want to change. You know, anybody who knows me knows that ice cream is my kryptonite, okay? There are a couple of kryptonite brothers out there as well, you know, but it really is. And, you know, for me to get my six-pack meant that I had to change. I had to give up some of my ice cream. And so, you know, I failed miserably. And when I failed, I got frustrated. I got angry. I had what my wife sometimes calls feral moments, you know, because I'm the type of person that likes to control things. You know, I think I've done everything right in life. I studied hard. I worked hard. I went to university for 18 years. I've got a master's in architecture, a postgrad diploma in business, an MBA, a PhD in industrial psychology. I'm the senior partner in an international architectural firm. You know, I'm the king of my castle. But when things go wrong, I get angry. I give advice to my clients. I have 24 years of experience. Do they listen to me? No. I give good service. Do they always pay? No. I'm an elder in the church. I never swear. I am reading my Bible every day. I am the perfect ambassador of being a Christian. No, I'm not. Do I doubt? Well, I have a special needs daughter. Am I going to be strong enough? Am I going to be brave enough? Do I know that God is standing right beside me, walking this path with me? No, I doubt sometimes. Am I going to be the perfect dad? I say to Ella Jane, you're 14, you shouldn't be interested in boys. She says to me, Dad, you're delulu. Delulu, is delulu even a word? Okay. Am I going to be a good husband to Colette? I can't even give her advice. She's perfect. Yeah, no, she is perfect. All right. So each year, I'd say goodbye to the last hard year and hope that this year's going to be better. Now, I know that some of you probably found yourself in similar situations. You know, you've probably been in a hard work experience. You might have been retrenched. You might have had to close a business. You might have had one of those clients that really let you down. You might be in a relationship that's really tough at the moment. You know, you and your partner just don't seem to be playing on the same team anymore. I've been there, done that. You might be a student that's doing everything right, studying hard, but those concepts just don't seem to mesh, and the marks aren't looking that good. You're getting frustrated, angry, maybe having some of those feral moments. But I can tell you now with confidence that this year is going to be better. Why? Because I want to tell you this amazing story about Otto Koenig. So, Otto was a missionary in the 1960s, and he got this calling to go to Papua New Guinea, a little island north of Australia, to an island, a jungle island full of headhunting cannibals, and he was going to preach the word. So he and his wife, Carol, a nurse, went off to this jungle island. They started a mission station and a small clinic. And Otto said it was like the Wild East. Not only were you afraid of being eaten, but in this culture of the tribal people there was just to steal. They were chronic thieves. You know, when they first arrived there, things just started going missing. Otto's favorite pen just disappeared, and he looked everywhere for it and couldn't find it. And then one day, in walks this guy, and in his nose is the pen. Instead of the stick or the bone, there is Otto's silver pen. And he reaches forward, grabs it, and says, "Thank you very much," cleans it off and puts it back in his shirt pocket. These guys were chronic thieves. It was in their culture. You know, what was really bad is that the parents would distract the people at the front of the house while the kids were stealing the laundry at the back. And the problem wasn't that they were stealing, but the parents would beat them when they got caught. That's how bad it was. Things went missing all the time. They'd find their crockery, their cutlery in the village. You know, one day their can opener went missing, and for like a month they were using machetes and rocks to break open those cans to get there. And then one day this woman walks into the clinic, and hanging around her neck as a necklace is the can opener. It was mad. And in this crazy time, Otto decides he's going to plant a pineapple patch. Why a pineapple patch? Well, this is a tropical island. There's lots of beach sand. There's no nutrition in the soil. So pineapples were one of the things that would grow there. And so he decided he was going to grow pineapples. But the problem was these chronic thieves kept stealing his pineapples. As soon as they started growing, they'd steal them. Even before they were ripe, they'd steal them when they were still green. And he'd get angry. He'd get frustrated. You know, he tried everything. You know, they come at night, and he'd hear them while he was sleeping, stealing his pineapples, and he'd wake up and he'd run out into the outside screaming. He was frustrated. Now, the main problem was that it wasn't that they were stealing his pineapples, but that Otto was getting angry, and his ministry suffered. You know, he put up a fence, and he said, "You know what? These are my pineapples. I'm going to protect them. This is my patch." And so this fence went up, but they just jumped over the fence and carried on stealing the pineapples. He then said, fine. He imported a German shepherd from another mission station. The problem was then nobody came to the mission or the clinic. So his wife said, "You know what? The dog has to go." And then what happened? The pineapples kept getting stolen. He was at his nerve's end. He was frustrated. He thought he was having health issues, heart palpitations. He was stressing out. And his ministry suffered. You know, the more that the guy stole, the angrier he got. But the problem was that he had to preach to them the gospels of love, joy, and peace. And Otto was feeling like an absolute failure because in the 7 years that he'd been there, he hadn't seen one conversion. And so he said, "You know what do I do?" And so he took a break. He took a sabbatical. He decided to go to New York and attend a seminar. And at that seminar, 3 verses stuck with him. The first verse, everything belongs to the Lord your God. The heavens, even the highest heavens, belong to him. The earth and everything on it belongs to him. This was reinforced by the earth is the Lord's and all it contains, the world and those who dwell in it. And finally, every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Otto realized that his frustrations were his problem. He'd taken everything and made it personal. He was holding on tightly to his pineapple patch. And so what he said was, okay, Lord, I'm going to hand it over to you. Why? Because he had learned at that sermon that he needed to die because he didn't deserve to own it. He had to die to the belief that he deserved his money. He had to die to the belief that he deserved health, that he deserved happiness, that he deserved his pineapple patch. So he said, Lord, I hand it over to you. It's your pineapple patch. And this is where everything changed for him. And this is what I want you to know, is that when he handed it over, things were put in place. Things were put in place that he didn't even know about. When you hand it over, things will be put in place that you might only see 2 weeks from now, or 3 years from now, or 10 years from now. God was putting things in place. Now, some of you have heard about the parable of the 3 servants in Matthew 25. And if you haven't, I'll tell you a quick synopsis of it. So Jesus was telling the story about this nobleman. And this nobleman had 3 servants. And he said, I'm going away on a business trip, and I'm going to give you some bags of money, and I want you to use your gifts, your talents, and I want you to grow them. And then when I return, you can give them back to me. So he gave the one servant 5 bags of coins, and the other servant 2 bags of coins, and the other servant 1 bag of coins, knowing their capabilities and strengths. And when he returned, the servant with 2 bags gave him 4. The servant with 5 bags gave him 10. But the servant with the 1 bag had buried it, and he only returned the 1. Now, this parable normally talks about money and finances and tithe, but this is a real gem around stewardship. And this is what I want you to understand, is that God has given you gifts and talents, and he can multiply them. He doesn't add, he multiplies. He takes 2 and makes them 4. He takes 5 and makes them 10. And that's exactly what happened with Otto. The pineapple patch exploded. There were more pineapples. They were bigger. There were just so many. And so when Otto got back, he was amazed. But the stealing still happened. And he'd go, God, they're still stealing your pineapples. What must I do? But then he had to remind himself. He had to remind himself that this wasn't his pineapple patch anymore. It was God's. And the more he said that, the more he reinforced that this wasn't his, it was God's. He changed. And one day the head man came to him and said, Otto, we finally see that you become a Christian. And Otto was dumbstruck. He's like, what? I've been baptized. I've been serving the Lord for all these years. I've come as a missionary to this island of headhunters, who want to eat me. I'm doing everything right. And he said, what do you mean? Tuan. That's what they called him. They said, Tuan, it's been very interesting that you've been telling us about these Christians, these people that are full of love, joy, and peace. But you're not a Christian. You've been angry. Now you see, Otto was broken. He realized that his message hadn't tied up with his life. He'd been angry, but he was talking about love, peace, and joy. So the headman said, Tuan, we've always wanted to meet a Christian, and today we've met one. What changed? Tuan, or Otto's spirit, was broken. He realized that he'd been such a failure. He'd been holding on so tightly to this pineapple patch that it was only now, by handing it over, that they were seeing him as a Christian. Tuan, what changed? Tell us. Well, you see, I gave my pineapple patch away. Tuan, what do you mean you gave the pineapple patch away? Well, I gave my pineapple patch away. It was causing me too much stress, too much heartache, it was making me angry, so I gave it away. Tuan, who did you give the pineapple patch to? Now, this is really, really important because they needed to know who they were stealing from. Were they stealing from a bigger tribe that might come and take revenge and eat them? Tuan, who did you give the pineapple patch to? Now, Tuan was still reeling from the fact that he'd just become a Christian. So he said, I'll tell you tomorrow. No, Tuan, you must tell us now. Who did you give the pineapple patch to? No, I'm tired. I'll tell you tomorrow. And he went into his hut and closed the door. And that whole night he could hear them. They were going, did he give it to you? Did he give it to you? Did he give it to you? He could hear the drums beating as they were talking to other tribes, asking, did he give the pineapple patch to you? Did he give it to you? Early in the morning, there was knocking on his door. Before the sun even rose, the whole tribe was outside his hut. And Tuan came out and they said, Tuan, who did you give the pineapple patch to? We've asked everybody and nobody owns it. We need to know, who did you give it to? And so Otto replied, I gave it to God. What? Tuan, you gave it to God? What does God need with pineapples? I don't know, but I've given it to God. Tuan, this is not good. You must go into your hut. You must pray to your God. You must ask for the pineapple patch back. You see, this is what I want you to understand. This is a really important concept. Who were they stealing from? They realized that they were stealing from God. Otto had handed the patch over to God, and they were stealing from him. Now, the headman said, Tuan, when did you give the pineapple patch away? And Otto thought about it and he said, I gave it away about 5 moons ago. And there was a lot of rumbling and murmuring, etc. And this is what I want you to lean into. Because the headman said, Tuan, 5 moons ago, things changed for us. Things started going really badly. You see, the moment that Otto had handed over his pineapple patch, things were put in place. Things were moving. God was influencing this tribe. Tuan, 5 moons ago, we haven't caught a wild pig since then. Tuan, 5 moons ago, we haven't caught a single fish. Our mothers have stopped giving birth. We're going to become a small tribe and another tribe is going to come and eat us. Tuan, we've gone to our witch doctors. We've prayed to our demon gods. We've tried to find out who we have offended. And it was at this moment that the tribe realized that they'd been stealing from a God that could do these things to their people. And things changed. They started giving their lives over to Jesus. They started influencing other tribes, and other tribes started coming to know the Lord. The pineapple industry exploded, so much so that they started exporting pineapples. But it only started when Otto gave up possession. God teaches that he can take not only our possessions, our material things, but our gifts and our talents, and he can use them, and he can multiply them to grow his kingdom. Now, I know that ownership, handing everything over to God, is such a foreign concept. We are taught from such a small age. It's my money, my car, my house, my family, my friends, my church. We are taught to hold on so tightly. And when we do that, we believe it's ours. But here's the thing I want you to know. When we relinquish control, when we relinquish power, when we realize that God doesn't have a claim on our 10% or our 50%, but He has a claim on 100%, it's revolutionary. Joshua writes this. Joshua says, "But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourself this day whom you will serve. Whether it's the gods of your ancestors who served beyond the Euphrates, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living." Are you serving your money? Are you serving people? Who are you serving? He carries on and says, "But as for me and my household, we will serve the Lord forever." So in closing, yes, you've worked hard. You've saved well. You've put in those long, long hours. And I'm not arguing that you don't deserve where you are. But what I am asking is, can you acknowledge that God has given you those gifts and those talents? He's given you the strength and the perseverance to get you to where you are today. You know what? We hold on so tightly to the things that we have. But there is freedom in letting go. There is freedom in handing over to God. We can hand over our stresses. We can hand over our worries. We can hand over our anger. And we can be all that God wants us to be. This church is built on 6 principles. And we're going to talk about those 6 principles over the next couple of weeks. But the first principle that I want to talk about is this church is an outward-facing church. It's a church that seeks the unchurched. So, when we can stop being inward-focused, when we can stop looking at what we have, and we can be outward-focused, we can start finding that peace. We can find that peace, love, and joy. We can become attractional. We can be the people that people want to be around. We can be the Christians that the cannibals were looking for. God used a pineapple patch to influence a people. And our second principle is about creating irresistible environments. We can use our homes, our places of work, our church. They can become our pineapple patches where we can attract people in. Places of safety, places of love, places of acceptance. Places where God is working and He can multiply. He can take those 2s and make them 4s. He can take those 5s and make them 10. So in the same way that those tribal people, those thieves, were seeking a Christian, in today's world we have the unchurched. We have those people far from God. People that you know, that you have a desire for. They're your friends. They're your family. They're your work colleagues. They're somebody that we desperately want to bring closer to know our God, Jesus. We need to be attractional. We need to be like Jesus irresistible. So in 2025, don't be like that scared servant who buried that coin in the ground. God has infinite resources at his disposal. He can help us. He can multiply us. So this year, I want you to stand up and say, you know what, I'm handing over. I'm not going to hold on tightly. I'm going to give it to you, God. I'm going to become a steward of all the gifts that you have given me. I'm going to become a leader. I'm going to step up in this church and I'm going to become a volunteer. I'm going to help you multiply your kingdom. So, in closing, I want to say King David's prayer. Will everybody bow your heads? Yours, O Lord, is the greatness and the power and the glory and the majesty and the splendor. For everything in heaven and earth is yours. Yours, O Lord, is the kingdom. You are exalted as head over all. Wealth and honor come from you. You are the ruler of all things. In your hands are strength and power to exalt and to give strength to all. Now, God, we give you thanks and praise, your glorious name. Amen.